Hey, what's up, guys? I'd just like to give a huge shout out to Vara and Roxy for this interview. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Vara.
And I'm Roxy.
And you're listening to VCR. Hey, Roxy, how are you?
I'm great. Just got a little itchy nose.
A little itchy nose, little itchiness. Someone had a little itchy wig yesterday, though.
Not really itchy. It was just tangly.
Driving you nuts, yeah.
It was tangly. Like every time I moved, I was like, God dang. I couldn't turn my head without it tangling up. I was like, geez.
Now, for all of those out there who are wondering why is she messing with an itchy, tangly wig, that's because yesterday we were at Comic Palooza, one of the state's largest comic book conventions, and then also one of the largest in the U.S. Not the largest, but one of the largest in the U.S. We're a thing too. I gave out these little keychains. That was actually kind of cute. They actually seemed to like it. They seemed to really like it. But it had our scan codes and everything on it, and we're just kind of running around. I had a great time. Roxy, was there anything at Comic Palooza that you really enjoyed that kind of stuck out with you? All this really cool stuff that we like to do and buy and support.
That lavender lemonade, I'm gonna mess around and throw some vodka in it. It was so good.
There you go. And then, well, here's the other thing is not only that, but I'm Vara with the VCRShow, and we're here at Comic Palooza in Houston, Texas, and we're talking to Ryan Duty, and he is the artist for the comic Vanessa. So tell us a little bit about the comic. What's the storyline behind it?
So it takes place with a young 23-year-old who is just discovering that he has this power. And so we developed a new power set called Dark Light Energy. So it's something that I wanted to give him something a little bit different than what you've seen before, and I wanted to come up with something unique so that it's power that comes from within him, and it comes from within his cells. So he's able to harness it, and it kind of comes out like you could akin it to like a Green Lantern or maybe Static Shock or something like that. For those characters, for people who are familiar with those, where he can create constructs, but what it does is it's very similar to the Flash, where it sort of drains him of his own vitality. So where he is, he expends a lot of his energy, his personal energy, using the power. So he has to be very cautious and very mindful for how he does it. But he's a 23-year-old, so of course he's not going to do that.
Right.
So he's going to just kind of jump in headstrong, do whatever he wants to do, and then kind of deal with things as they come or as they happen. Okay. And so in this comic book here, I've created him. He's a 23-year-old kid who lives with his mom, and she goes out and she's a nurse. And while she's out, he's doing this. So yeah, we had the concept a long time ago when we played a video game called DC Universe Online, and that came out in like 2011. And so my kids and myself, we were sort of riffing on, because in that game you're able to come up with your own characters. And so we were like, well, what would we do if we actually came up with our own characters, right? And that sort of stemmed from end of these discussions. And we said, well, what's one of the great things about characters? Well, number one, what sort of power do they have? What power set? Well, that has to be interesting. So we're like, okay, well, that's cool. So we came up with Dark Light Energy. And then the next thing that really compels people about characters is the villains. If you have a really good villain, if you have a really good rogues gallery, then that itself is, if you look at Batman has the best rogues gallery.
Right.
All of his villains people pretty much know by name. His next from that would probably be like Spider-Man. Spider-Man has the next well-known villain, rogue gallery, followed by maybe the Flash and then Superman. Like Superman, you know Lex Luthor and things like that. And when you think of the villains, you think of, okay, man, what does the hero need to do to thwart the enemy? What does he need to do to save the day? Well, that's sort of what we're doing with this. We're introducing a villain at the end from our rogues gallery, and that's so the Neff. He's used to dealing with like local thugs, right? So he's overconfident because he's a 23-year-old, super powered. So, and he thinks he has these abilities and can do whatever he wants. Well, when he meets somebody that actually has tactical mercenary type training, like, well, what does he do? It doesn't end well for him. So, he has to learn from that and say, okay, well, how do I overcome this disability or this lack of knowledge or this lack of understanding? How do I fight hand in hand.
Right.
Because I'm used to overpowering my I don't want to say victims, but overpowering the enemies that he encounters on his patrol, right?
Right.
So I was like, that's something, So we created our first villain, Night Hunter. And then in the next issue, there'll be Jack-o'-lantern. Then we have another that uses dark light. And they all sort of have a tie to the dark light energy. They all utilize it and harness it in different ways. So we have a speedster villain, to where what he does is he absorbs the dark light energy, and then his suit allows him to use a sort of speed force. But so the Nephilim, that comes, it's within his cell, so he generates the dark light energy. So the villain is able to siphon the dark light energy from him in order to tower him. So the hero has to understand, well, what do I do? Or how do I get it to where I'm not drained of this power in order to overcome this threat? So just different things like that. And we have another character who's able to create a synthetic dark light energy, because with the Neph, his dark light energy is he has to hold it, he has to touch it. So anything that he constructs has to be something that is still connected to his body. So he can make nunchucks, or he can make bracers, or he creates a grapple, or a shield, or there's pretty much anything, but that has to touch it, right? Okay. And so with our other villain, Jack-o'-lantern, he's able to understand how to create it into a projectile. So we wanted to create something that was very diverse, very, the imagination. You're limited only by your own imagination. So I'm like, hey, let's go as far as we can with pushing how many different characters can use it in a different way, in a creative way. So
how long has this been out on shelves?
This is first. Yeah, we just got these printed. I just received them from being printed last week.
Okay.
So this is the first time that we put them out on shelves. It's the first time you're able to get this in hand. We have also on our website the PDF, so you can download that as well. But yeah, this is the first time we actually got this thing in a printed form, so very excited about it.
So let's go ahead and jump into it. If someone wanted to buy your comic, where can they go to buy it?
They can purchase it from zevercomics.com.
Spell that out.
ZEEVERCOMICS.com, and we sell everything there. You can, if you want to purchase it, we made our own. If you want to follow me, you can follow me inside. Everything that we've done, we've created in-house. So we have 3D printed statues of Nephilim, so you can sort of see how he looks. We also printed him in multicolor, using different filaments. And then I screen printed my own shirts.
Nice.
I used to work for a screen printing company, so I screen printed my own shirts, which are here. I have 2 different styles. These are for our plus size members that, it's, and then this is for our smaller size
bands.
Bands.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Here you go.
So
and
t-shirts.
Okay,
that's what they actually
look
like.
They look like folded. And then I have other artwork. I wanted to show off that, hey, I've done other things besides this. So I wanted to show off my Mickey Mouse and Roadrunner and Batman, and I wanted to show an image of Nephilim standing next to other heroes. What does he look like? Does he look like he fits? One of the things that I did with the color scheme is that heroes back in the day, when you used to get older comics, they could only be printed in certain colors.
Right.
So they had what's called Pantones. So the heroes would normally or typically be colored in blue, red, or yellow, because those are primary colors, and your villains would be green, purple, and orange. Right. Because those are secondary colors.
Right.
So I figured, okay, well this character here, he's a good guy, but he's not a Boy Scout like Superman, and he's not the Dark Knight like Batman.
Right.
So I gave him the Batman and Superman blue, and then I accompanied that with the purple, because I felt like it married well, and
it does. It actually
together.
looks great.
Thank you. And then with the emblem, the same thing. I went with the black and a white to show sort of a dichotomy of light and dark, like positive and negative energy, so that you can see, he's a flawed person just like anybody else, but he's got superpowers, and he has to learn how to do it, and he's going to make mistakes. As you saw on the at the end page, he kind of got in a little over his head with
Yeah.
the character. So that's sort of what we did here. And with these comic book covers, I drew these bottom three, and then Jimmy Reyes. He is the artist on this cover. He's worked with David Finch. He's done Wolverine and Batman and not Deadpool, but Daredevil. Rob Marzullo, I got from Ram Studio Comics. He has a YouTube channel where he teaches people how to draw comic book characters. So if you wanted to learn how to draw comic books, you go to Ram Studios. He has so many YouTube videos on how to draw different aspects of the characters or the environments or anything like that. So I got with him and I asked him because his art style is very similar to mine. So I said, hey, would you be interested in drawing a cover? And that's what he came up with. I colored it. I colored Jimmy's. Colored this one as well. But this one was colored by another artist down the way, Simon Blaze of Blaze Manga.
Okay.
So he's on the main aisle, and he's the one that colored that issue. And this one here, I drew and colored myself.
Wonderful. Juan, thank you so much. This is a wonderful interview. It's been absolutely great.
Appreciate
you so much. Levada, the VCR show as Gomez, and my Morticia's behind the camera. And we will see you next interview. We really do hope you've enjoyed this wonderful special of the VCR show at Comic Palooza. It is a little bit longer than normal, but we have so many fascinating interviews that we want to include, and information and all the good stuff. Something definitely we will be doing again next year.